You really think you can make that shot standing like that? The drill instructor chuckled loudly as the small woman moved up to the line. The whole squad of recruits erupted in laughter. Some pretended to stumble back dramatically, whistling and clapping in mock applause. She stayed silent. Simply lifted her hand to adjust her position. Her shirt lifted slightly, revealing a black mamba tattoo coiled around a bullet. A general standing behind suddenly stopped breathing, stepped back and whispered, "That's a black mamba mark." Her name was Jasmine Carter, 28 years old, from Detroit, braided hair pulled back tight, petite frame, deep brown skin, calm eyes. She was the newest recruit in the sniper training course at Fort Carson. From day one, she spoke little, always arrived early, cleaned rifles for the entire group without anyone asking. The team called her Church Mouse, or the volunteer. During the first exercise, Jasmine didn't shoot, only asked to be an observer to better understand wind direction and reflexes, a drill instructor said bluntly. If you're afraid to pull the trigger. Why did you even sign up? She only bowed her head, saying softly, I've shot before, but I don't want to repeat it if I'm not ready. The others laughed loudly, shot with tin cans in the backyard. But something about her stillness made the laughter feel hollow. The way she handled the rifle, the precise way she cleaned each component, the methodical checking of sight alignment. These weren't the movements of someone who'd only held toy guns when she observed her eyes track targets with mathematical precision. She calculated wind speed by watching dust movement. She noted temperature changes affecting bullet trajectory. Why aren't you shooting? Asked Sergeant Rodriguez, the head instructor, because she said quietly, I need to remember why I stopped. The other recruits exchanged glances. There was something in her voice, not fear, but something deeper, something that made the training ground feel suddenly colder. She spent hours after training, sitting alone, staring at the targets downrange. Her fingers would trace the mamba tattoo, absent-mindedly, as if remembering something she wished she could forget. The recruit's mockery grew crueler. Maybe she's waiting for divine intervention, or maybe she thinks this is prayer circle. But Jasmine never responded. She just continued her routine, arriving first, leaving last. Maintaining everyone's equipment with obsessive care, one evening Sergeant Rodriguez found her cleaning rifles in the dark. Carter, what are you doing making sure they're ready? She whispered. Ready for what? She looked up, and for a moment her eyes held something ancient. For when someone needs them to work perfectly during a live ammunition training session, they forced Jasmine to go first, even though she hadn't fired a single shot yet. The instructor shouted, 1 bullet only, miss it and you're out. She said nothing, just gently wiped the rifle barrel with her hand when adjusting her stance. Her shirt lifted slightly. A drill instructor suddenly noticed the black tattoo, a mamba wrapped around a bullet with the snake's head carved with BV7. That instructor was about to scold getting tattoos to look tough. But a general observing from afar, General Thompson suddenly approached his eyes. Strange, he bent down to look closely, then stepped back. Half a step, whispered to the instructor. Stop, she was in Black Viper. The instructors were horrified, one whispered. But Black Viper was disbanded after the Kandahar incident. No one survived. She survived the training ground. Fell silent. Even the wind seemed to stop. General Thompson's face had gone pale. He'd been a young captain during the Kandahar campaign, the classified operation that officially never happened. He'd read the after-action reports, seen the casualty list marked MIA, presumed dead. Black Viper wasn't just any unit. They were the ghosts who operated in places where regular forces couldn't go. Urban warfare specialists. Each member was worth a platoon. How many were in your unit? Thompson asked quietly. 7, Jasmine replied, her voice barely audible. And how many came back? She looked at him with those calm eyes. You're looking at her. The other recruits had stopped laughing entirely. They didn't understand the significance, but they could feel the weight of it, the way General Thompson's hands trembled slightly, the way other instructors had unconsciously stepped back. The BV7 on your tattoo. Thompson continued. That's your unit number. No, she said simply. That's how many I couldn't save. The silence stretched unbearably in the distance. A flag snapped in the wind. Sergeant Rodriguez, trying to regain control, cleared his throat. Carter, you still need to take your shot. Jasmine nodded. She approached the firing line with the same measured steps she'd used for weeks, but now everyone watched differently. She positioned herself, and for the first time, her movements looked different. Not the careful, hesitant adjustments of a beginner, but the fluid automatic motions of someone who'd done this thousands of times under pressure. Ma'am called out one of the recruits who'd been mocking her. What was Black Viper like? She paused, rifle halfway to her shoulder. Quiet, she said. We were very, very quiet. General Thompson ordered the training class to halt, who gave the order for her to shoot first. The entire class remained silent. Thompson spoke slowly. She doesn't need training. She once saved me at checkpoint Delta with a shot from nearly 800 meters. I never saw her face, only knew the tattoo. Jasmine stepped forward. She looked at him calmly. I didn't save you. I just did what was necessary to get the whole team home. Thompson raised his hand in a strict salute. All the recruits and instructors stood speechless, but Jasmine wasn't finished. The memories were flooding back now, memories she'd spent 3 years trying to suppress. Checkpoint Delta was supposed to be a simple extraction. She said, her voice carrying across the silent training ground. Intelligence said, 1 hostile sniper. We found 14. General Thompson's face went ashen. He remembered that day, differently remembered being pinned down. His radio operator, dead ammunition, running low. You were trapped in that mosque for 5 hours. Jasmine continued, 2nd floor, southeast corner. You had a shoulder wound, kept trying to call for backup on a dead radio. How could you possibly know? That Thompson whispered. Because I was in the water tower 823 meters away. I watched you through my scope for 5 hours, watched you bandage your shoulder with torn fabric, watched you check your ammunition count. 14 times the training ground was so quiet you could hear heartbeats. I took out 9 hostiles before you even knew I was there. The 10th one, he had you in his sights when you tried to move to the window. That's when I took the shot. You remember Thompson's hands were shaking now, but our intelligence said, your intelligence was wrong. It wasn't one sniper. It was a coordinated ambush. They knew you were coming. She turned to face the recruits who'd been mocking her for weeks. You want to know what Black Viper was like? We were the unit they sent when everyone else was already dead. We were the ones who went in after the official missions failed. One of the recruits, a young man named Jackson, who'd been particularly cruel in his jokes, spoke up. But why didn't you tell us? Why let us think? Because Jasmine interrupted. The moment you start believing your own legend, you're already dead. She walked to the firing line for the first time in 3 years. She raised a rifle with purpose. General Thompson, you said I saved you with 1 shot. That's not entirely accurate. The rifle cracked once downrange. The target split perfectly in half. I saved you with shot number 367 of that day. The first 366 were practice. She fired again. The second target position behind the first also split in Black Viper. We had a saying, the best shot is the one no one remembers because everyone lived. A third shot. A third target, nearly invisible in the distance, fell, but sometimes, she said, lowering the rifle. Sometimes people remember. Anyway, Jasmine didn't continue the training course. She left the base the next morning. On the shooting table was an M24 rifle, clean to a mirror shine, and a folded American flag. A small note read, no further training needed. Just remember why we pick up rifles in the first place. In the shooting range, a group of students placed a small photo frame. Black Viper, they never shouted, but when they fired, no one forgot. But before she left, Jasmine did something unexpected. She asked to address the recruits one final time. They gathered in the barracks, these young men and women who'd spent weeks mocking her, now sitting in complete silence. You think this is about shooting, she began. It's not, it's about the weight of responsibility. Every bullet carries someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's future. She looked at each face and turned. When I was your age, growing up in Detroit, I thought being a sniper meant being special. Thought it meant being the hero. The story my grandmother used to say, child, real strength is knowing when not to use it. But heroes don't hide in shadows for 16 hours, waiting for 1 shot. Heroes don't carry the faces of people they couldn't save. Jackson, the recruit who'd been cruelest, raised his hand. Ma'am, how do we How do we become like you? Jasmine smiled for the first time since arriving at the base. But it wasn't a happy smile, you don't, she said simply. You become better. You become the version of me that saves everyone, the version that comes home with all 7 teammates. She stood to leave, then paused. And you remember that the person sitting next to you, the one you think doesn't belong here, might be the one who saves your life. Someday treat them accordingly. After she left, the recruits found that she'd left something else behind. Detailed notes on each of their shooting techniques. Personalized advice for improvement and a training schedule that would push them beyond anything they'd imagined. At the bottom of each note was the same message: you're better than you think, prove it. Sergeant Rodriguez kept those notes years later. When recruits asked about the legendary Black Viper, who'd briefly trained at their base, he'd show them the notes and say, she didn't come here to learn. She came here to teach. We were just too stupid to realize it. There are people who don't need to shoot to prove anything because they've already shot in places no one dares to remember. Jasmine was Black Viper, a unit that was never officially recognized, but every tattoo is living proof. Never laugh at the quiet ones. Never laugh when someone cleans your rifle for you. Maybe the person you're mocking is the one who will save your life on the hardest day. Live kindly and never look down on people just because they don't show off their titles. The real warriors are the ones who carry their battles silently, who clean weapons they hope they'll never need to use again, who remember the weight of every shot they've taken. They don't need applause, they don't need recognition, they just need to know that when the moment comes, they'll be ready. And sometimes they need to know that the people they're protecting are worth protecting. Remember, the loudest person in the room is rarely the most dangerous. The most dangerous person is usually the one sitting quietly in the corner, hoping they never have to show you why they're so quiet. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe for more.